Ahoy and welcome to one of my absolute favorite cities in Europe, Prague. If you're standing in Old Town Square right now, taking in the fairy tale spires, the smell of roasted pork, and the buzz of happy travelers, you're looking at the brain and heart of medieval Prague's civic pride, the Old Town Hall. Stand back a few steps in the square and take a look at the building in front of you. Notice how it doesn't look like one giant, symmetrical palace? That's because it's not. Think of it as medieval Europe's ultimate do-it-yourself expansion project. Back in 1338, King John of Luxembourg granted the burghers, Prague's rising merchant class, permission to establish their own town council. But the king didn't give them a budget to build a grand new palace. Instead, the council funded it by levying a local tax on wine. They bought a single-corner house from a rich merchant named Wolflin, stuck a big tower on it, and over the next 2 centuries, whenever they needed a new office, they just bought the house next door. What you're looking at is a patchwork quilt of 5 distinct medieval homes stitched together. Before we look up at the clock, look down at your feet. Embedded in the gray cobblestones right in front of the building, you'll see 27 white cross markers. They mark a dark day in Czech history. June 21st, 1621. After a failed Protestant uprising, the Catholic Habsburg rulers executed 27 Czech noblemen and scholar leaders right on this spot. It's a reminder that while Prague looks like a fairy tale, its path to freedom was hard-fought. Now raise your eyes to the crowd magnet on the south wall, the Astronomical Clock, or the Orloj. Installed in 1410, this isn't just a clock. It's the 3rd oldest astronomical clock in the world, and the oldest one still ticking. Local legend says it was built by a brilliant clockmaker named Master Hanuš. As the story goes, the Prague City Council was so terrified he'd build an even grander clock for a rival city like Vienna or Nuremberg that they blinded him with hot iron pokers. In revenge, the blind Hanuš supposedly reached deep into the clock's gears, jamming the mechanism and dropping dead on the spot, cursing anyone who tried to fix it. Now historians will tell you it was actually built by Mikuláš of Kadaň and astronomer Jan Šindel, but never let cold facts ruin a good Czech ghost story. Let's decode what you're actually looking at on that complex upper dial. First, the Earth is at the center. Remember, in 1410, everyone still thought the universe revolved around us. You'll also see 3 different times. The clock actually tells 3 different types of time at once. The Roman numerals track local time. The outer golden Gothic numbers track Old Czech time, where the day starts at sunset. And the curved blue and orange lines measure Babylonian time, which divided daylight into 12 hours that grew longer in summer and shorter in winter. Flanking the main dial are 4 medieval moral warnings. On the far left is vanity, admiring himself in a mirror. Next to him is greed, clutching a bag of gold. On the right sits death, a skeleton holding an hourglass and pulling a tolling rope. And beside death is the Turk, representing worldly pleasures and lust. When the top of the hour strikes, death pulls his cord and flips his hourglass. The 4 figures shake their heads. No, as they aren't ready to go yet. 2 blue doors open at the top, and the 12 apostles slide past to look down on us mere mortals before a golden rooster crows to kick off the new hour. Once you've watched the show, head inside through the main glass door entrance on the ground floor, scan your ticket, and take the stairs up to the 1st floor to meet me in the chapel. This tour is designed for you to listen to as you tour the town hall and the tower. Whenever you need extra time to stroll, snap a photo, or dodge a tour group, just hit pause. Grab your tickets and let's go explore. Welcome inside the Chapel of the Virgin Mary, consecrated in 1381. Take a deep breath. After the noise of the square outside, there's a quiet reverence here. Imagine 15th century city councilors kneeling on these stones to pray for wisdom, or maybe just praying that their tax collection went smoothly before stepping into heated council debates next door. Walk toward the protruding stone alcove on the outer wall. This is a famous Gothic oriel window, designed by master architect Petr Parler, the medieval superstar who also gave us the Charles Bridge and St. Vitus Cathedral. Notice the delicate stone tracery and ribbed ceiling vaulting. Now look closely at the interior wall where you'll see a glass window opening into a small chamber. Step up to it and peer inside. You are looking directly at the backside of the 12 apostles. From out in the square, they look like grand divine statues. From here, you see the wooden gears, levers, and hinged arms that make them work. It's like getting a peek behind the curtain at a medieval puppet theater. Look around these stone walls. It's a miracle this chapel is here at all. On May 8, 1945, literally on the final day of World War II in Europe, Prague's citizens launched an uprising against the occupying German forces. German tanks fired artillery rounds directly into the old town hall. The entire grand neo-Gothic wing of the building burst into flames and collapsed into rubble. The chapel was gutted, and the original wooden apostles burned to ash. After the war, Czech master woodcarvers painstakingly carved a brand new set of apostles using traditional medieval tools. Here's a little secret for you. If you look closely at the carved faces of the apostles from up close, you'll notice they don't have eyes painted in. The sculptor realized that from 50 feet down in the square, nobody could see their pupils anyway, so why waste the paint? That's practical Czech pragmatism for you. When you're ready, follow the signs into the neighboring historic municipal halls. Now you've stepped into the old council chamber, preserved almost exactly as it looked back in the mid-1400s. Look up at that magnificent ceiling. Those heavy dark timber beams are original Gothic wood, richly hand-painted with Renaissance floral patterns and gilded detailing. In the corner of the room, look for the striking 15th-century wooden statue of Christ on the cross. Above his head is a Latin inscription carved into the wood. Iudicate Iuste filii hominum, or, in English, Judge righteously, O children of men. This room wasn't just for city politics. It was Prague's primary courtroom. Imagine standing here accused of selling watered-down beer or fudging your merchant ledger. The magistrate sat right below that statue. Every time a judge looked up to pronounce a sentence, Christ's eyes were staring right back at him, reminding him that a higher judge was watching. Now walk through the archway into the next room. This is Brozic Hall. Talk about a change of mood. We've jumped from a cozy 15th-century wood-beamed courtroom into a soaring, two-story Art Nouveau power room built in 1910 for mayor receptions and state banquets. Dominating the side walls are two colossal oil paintings by famous Czech artist Václav Brozic. Each of these canvases is staggering. They are over 23 feet wide and weigh more than 1,300 pounds. On the left, you can see Jan Hus on trial before the Council of Constance in 1415. Hus was the Czech religious reformer who preached in the common language instead of Latin and spoke out against church corruption a century before Martin Luther. He refused to recant his beliefs and was burned at the stake, becoming the ultimate national martyr. On the right is the coronation of George of Podobrady in 1458. King George, affectionately known as the Hussite King, was the only Czech monarch in history who wasn't born into royal bloodlines. He was elected by the local noblemen right here in this building. He even proposed an early version of a European Union League of Princes to keep peace in Europe 500 years ahead of his time. Ready for a complete change of scenery? Follow the directional signs leading downstairs toward the basement level. As you descend into the cool stone underground chamber, you probably feel a sudden temperature drop. We have just stepped back nearly 900 years into the 12th and 13th centuries. Now prepare yourself for a mind-bending spatial twist. You are not standing in a basement. There are no windows, and there is stone vaulting over your head, and it feels like a subterranean lair. But back in the 1100s, this room was actually at ground level and open to the sunshine and cobblestone street level. So what happened? The Vltava River flows just a few blocks away, and in the early Middle Ages, whenever the spring snow melted, the river burst its banks and flooded Old Town up to your waist. By the mid-1200s, the citizens of Prague grew tired of mopping up their living rooms every spring, so they made a radical decision. They systematically raised the street level of the entire Old Town by 7 to 10 feet. They hauled in thousands of cartloads of soil, river gravel, and construction rubble, dumping it directly onto the streets. Homeowners walled up their old front doors and turned their old ground-floor living rooms into basements, building brand-new houses on top of the new higher street level. As you walk through these chambers, look for a few things. First, see the narrow arched doorways and wells? These were once street-facing entrances and courtyard wells. Look at the rough Romanesque stone walls. Notice how coarse and thick the stones are. They were built without mortar to withstand moisture. Finally, check out the medieval dungeons. In the 14th century, after these rooms were subterranean, the city council converted them into prisons and torture chambers. If you look closely at some of the softer stone blocks, you can still see faint scratches graffiti carved into the rock by desperate prisoners hundreds of years ago. The entire room is like an archaeological layer cake under the modern city. Once you've explored these stone halls, head back up the staircase to the main hall and follow the signs toward the old town hall tower. As you step inside the tower shaft, you're greeted by one of Prague's slickest architectural surprises. A striking blend of 14th century Gothic masonry and sleek modern design. Instead of the cramped, leg-burning spiral staircases typical of most medieval watchtowers, the interior features a gently sloping, step-free spiral ramp that winds seamlessly along the outer stone walls. Gliding right through the open core of that ramp is an elliptical, glass-walled elevator that looks like something straight out of a sci-fi film. Whether you choose to take a breezy walk up the inclined ramp or ride the elevator, peering through the open metallic framework gives you a hypnotic bird's-eye view of the building's ancient skeleton, and makes this one of the few medieval towers in Europe that is fully barrier-free and accessible to everyone. Once you get to the top of this massive, 230-foot-tall observation tower, stop for a moment to take in the view. Let's do a slow 360-degree walk around the balcony and orient ourselves to the horizon. First, we'll look east, directly over the Old Town Square. Right across the square rises the black fairy tale spires of the Church of Our Lady before Tin. Look at those twin towers. Do you notice anything asymmetrical? The tower on the right is slightly broader and chubbier than the left. In medieval tradition, those towers represent Adam and Eve. Adam is the larger, stouter one on the right. Next, we'll look out to the north. Look for the white Baroque facade and green copper dome of St. Nicholas Church. Just beyond it runs Parížská, or Paris Street, a leafy, high-end boulevard lined with Art Nouveau mansions, slicing directly through the historic Jewish quarter. Now look west, across the river. Looking across the Vltava River toward the hilltop sits the massive complex of Prague Castle, with the soaring Gothic needles of St. Vitus Cathedral spearing the sky. Finally, lean over the stone rail and look straight down into the square. you'll see the massive bronze Jan Hus Memorial surrounded by tourists, and a sea of red-tiled roofs stretching out like a terracotta maze in every direction. For more than 6 centuries, a city watchman lived right up in this tower. Day and night he paced this very gallery, scanning the horizon for fires, approaching enemy armies or civil riots. If he saw danger, he'd blow a trumpet horn and drop a colored flag toward the threat to alert the guards below. Today, you don't have to watch for fires or invading armies. You just get to soak in one of the grandest urban panoramas in Europe. Take your time taking photos and enjoy the breeze. When you're finished, head back out in the old town square to explore the rest of the beautiful city of Prague.